Good day to you all podcast enthusiasts, those across the World Wide Web social media. Places like WeChat, if you're Chinese, or of Chinese origin, YouTube, Spotify, Facebook, Twitter, formerly known as X, and all other podcast environs and platforms as you find them around the world in your own languages, cultural backgrounds, and regional influences. I'm Lawrence of the Lawrence Perspective, bringing you basically an update from the LM Media Group on the Zambian elections. Since my last episode where I indicated that Hichilema had won the elections and against Mundubile and won them fairly and squarely against the 61% of the votes cast compared to the 30s for Brian Mundubile. Now, the point about it is that there's been contests around the election, which I want to clarify and bring to your attention. Now, the results were not entered immediately upon the receipt. This is one of the main issues. Officials failed to record the announced results promptly at the official tally sheets, contrary to regulations. Now, that's one issue that's being contested. And then the digital and paper figures were not consistently cross-linked and cross-checked. EU observers in particular found that the decline in the number of centers verifying the figures entered electronically matched the actual physical tally. So then the other point about it is that the unexplained interruptions occurred. The returning officers reportedly took extended breaks in almost half of the observed tabulation exercises and appeared to wait for instructions from the Electoral Commission headquarters. Now, I'm not sure if there's anything wrong with that, but to wait hours for a directive seems a little bit out of the character. And the other one is the military deployment. How do you deploy the military in such a scenario? The heavy military presence at some centers was described as intimidating and coincided with fewer party age and citizens among the remaining present. So there was more military than there were observers, which doesn't make sense. The detailed polling station results were withheld, and the Electoral Commission did not publish the results broken down by individual polling stations, which you need to do. This prevents parties and observers and citizens from comparing locally signed results against national totals, comparing the two. And violence and theft disrupted the resulting process. And that was ballot papers and result forms was reportedly stolen. Election officials were attacked. And armed groups removed result forms from the McKinney Center. Why was that? And credible witnesses also reported raids by the alleged UPND cadres on two Kabwe stations. That's just not on, is it? Zambians, what's wrong? And the playing field obviously favored the president, Hichilema. Everything was stacked in his favor. There were restrictions on opposition rallies and movements. And the state resources were used during the campaign. That's sort of against the rules. And, the government vehicles, official platforms and equipment announcements and programs and electricity connections were being promoted during the presidential campaign. And voter inducement, that was also observed. and the EU said that there was basically 1/3 of the campaign events involved the ruling UPND, and there were some cash handouts. Now that's sinister. That's real sinister. And the state media, as usual, was unequivocal, which is supporting the ruling candidate and basically the ruling party. The coverage was quite poor for Ndubile, and the electoral laws were changed too close to the elections. So all these things have basically culminated in and there's a lot more which I won't add, otherwise I'll be here forever. There's all these things go on to challenge or undermine the win gained by Hakainde Hichilema. The question that will always be asked when he's ruling is, how did it happen that despite all these issues, you were still voted president and you're still running the country? That's the biggest question that will be asked. In free and fair elections, those questions never come about, but in this case they will. So I take back what was said before, or rather I add on to what I said before. With all these issues that were raised, the question is now, Hakainde Hichilema, are you really the president of Zambia? Were you really freely voted on? If not, maybe we need another vote. Maybe a second vote will tell us the truth. I remain yours, Lawrence of the LM Perspective, thanking you for your time. And Zambians, one Zambia, one nation. Chisokone. Thank you, guys.